Welcome to Tamar Bowling Video Ball Reviews. For all your bowling needs, check out our partner, PerfectAimBowling.com. Hey Tamar Bowling fans, we are now on Patreon. For exclusive content, please join us at patreon.com/TamarBowling. Today we're testing the new track Kinetic Amethyst. We're testing on a 40-foot medium house shot, both fresh and second shift. First impressions, the Kinetic Amethyst looks to fill a gap in the track lineup where you need a cleaner look. It's clean for sure, not as snappy as we thought it would be, but has potential. For value, we gave the Amethyst a B. It's a mid-priced ball. It seems to have a bit of a defined slot of usability. Still gets decent marks for value. Overall, we gave the Kinetic Amethyst a B. The modified kinetic core is clearly a stalwart at this point for track. It seems every brand has found at least one winner that can be reused over and over again. In this case, they added a clean pearl cover stock to give it more length and make it a step down ball. In theory, you can have an arsenal of all kinetic balls and be totally fine in a house shot. When I first saw this ball, it kind of looked a bit like a skid flip formula. In practice, for us, it is definitely clean but not super snappy. It's like track put a what I call thin type cover stock on this ball. What I mean is that it's one that gets length and is very quick reacting to dry, which shrinks the hook phase of the skid hook roll shape of a ball. That it does, but the core is not quite a thin core, meaning it's not a loping core, which typically complements a thin cover stock. And that takes it up a notch from the low end balls in terms of ball reaction. It seems a bit of a fight between the core and cover, one which the cover wins generally speaking. What does all that mean? It means you won't get huge skid flip. You'll get easy length, you'll get good but smoother motion down lane. It's just that you have to find the friction at the right length on the lane to get the ball to read. So if you find friction too far down lane, the ball will be lazy making it back. If you find it too early, you might not hold pocket. On a fresh house shot, Justin has a great look with the Amethyst. His roll and style blends well with this piece. He generates natural length, so the ball gradually reads the friction. He scored extremely well with this piece already, especially in houses that have downlane friction, and that adds drive, which amplifies the carry. What's interesting is, in theory, you would think the Amethyst would work well on burn, where you get a cleaner and snappier look. However, the ball went from looking fantastic on fresh to looking over-under on the burn. Now it noses up, and the friction that's been created when you move into the heavy house shot volume, it pukes. This somewhat boxes the ball in terms of condition specificity, so while it may be a good option on medium or lower volumes while the shot is fresh, it may not be the ball you can drop to from another kinetic or more aggressive piece because of the reaction we described. I think this will be pattern specific, but knowing how walled up house shots can be, I worry this will be the standard situation for bowlers. Dan's our second tester, and he's got a decent rev rate but with more tilt than Justin, so he generates good length in a different way than Justin does. On the fresh, it's either there or not. It has been playable for Dan generally speaking, but sometimes he sees the same thing in terms of over-under on fresh. If he parallels in, he gets less motion because the ball seems to skid too far. The ball's obviously clean and not super aggressive off the friction. You can see the ball is close all the time, but just seems to enter the pocket differently with each shot. The volume is probably a little much for this ball right now for Dan. So it seems the ball prefers a lower volume fresh shot. For the second shift shot though, Dan had a pretty good look. Again, he has to be careful of getting into the friction too early, but he got good bounce off the dry, and it was probably a better look for Dan and his style on second shift than it was for Justin. So final thoughts, in the end, the track Kinetic Amethyst is a decent ball. It's definitely not the most versatile ball from the Kinetic line, and clearly a step down to the rest. The issue we saw was that it really isn't a step down in terms of use. It's first out of the bag on lower volumes, but one that was more tricky when the medium pattern started to dry out. So I can give it credit for the former if you recognize the limitation of the latter. It's a pretty ball, and on the lower volume house pattern, the ball looks great. Honestly, just ask Justin how many award scores he's already thrown with it.
Thank you for watching Limerick Bowling Video Ball Reviews.